In this video, I'm going to show you 5 easy steps to applying flawless foundation over 40. Let's get into it. So we're going to start with step number 1, and that is use more moisturizer. Now, having oily skin is different than, because people think they don't have to use moisturizer. Oily skin is different than hydrated skin. So you really want to hydrate your skin, especially if you're older, because when you get a little older, your skin starts to dry out. We start to get those fine lines and wrinkles, and we really want the skin to be moisturized before we apply the foundation. So today I'm going in with the Release Moisturizer. This is good for all skin types. You can use it as a makeup primer and also a moisturizer, so we're going to be using this one today. Just going to put a little bit on my hand, and we're just going to go in and really moisturize that skin. You can also go in with an oil and mix it in with your foundation if you don't have a moisturizer that you currently are using. The one that I recommend is the Laura Mercier. This is the Flawless Skin Rose Nourishing Oil. I do use this for skincare as well, but you can mix this in with your foundation to give it a little bit more hydration. So the second step that we're going to go into is our foundation. Now, like I said, when you get older, your skin's going to dry out. You don't want a heavy, cakey foundation settling into your fine lines and wrinkles. So you want to go in with something dewy, something that has a satin sheen to it. You want to try to stay away from matte foundation. So today I'm going to be using the Born This Way foundation. This is oil-free. It has a medium buildable coverage, and it's got a little dewiness to it. So this would be good to start out if you're not really sure what foundation that you want to start using. So we're going to go in with this. I'm just going to take a little bit on the back of my hand, and I'm going to go in with my beauty blender. You can use a brush, you can use a sponge, whatever kind of applicator that you want to use. Just remember that the sponge is going to soak up a little bit more product than the brush. I have wet it under the faucet, so it is damp. So just keep that in mind when you start building up your coverage. So I'm just going to go in on the back of my hand, and we're just going to start blending that in. You always want to start out light because you can always add more if needed. It's hard to kind of take away once you've got it on your face. Kind of like if you put too much salt in a dish that you're making, you can't take the salt out, but you can always build it up if you need more. So our step number 3 is our concealer. So you want to go the same color as your foundation if you're going to conceal any blemishes or places that you want to cover up. If you want to highlight, you're going to go a shade 1 to 2 lighter than your foundation. So today I'm going to go in with the Tarte Shape Tape. This is a pretty full coverage concealer, but you can use it as sparingly as possible. And just remember, you don't have to do the IG concealer look that everybody does with the huge triangles and the full amount of concealer. You don't really need that much. And just remember, we're going for a little lighter coverage today because we want to make sure that this concealer does not settle in our fine lines. So I'm just going to go a little bit here and a little bit on the outside, a little bit here and a little bit on the outside. Placing the concealer here on the outside is going to make your eyes look a little bit more lifted once we blend it out. I'm just going to do a little bit on the nose, Cupid's bow and chin, just a smidge. And I'm still going to go back in with that same beauty blender, and I'm just going to blend it out. When you start to blend this concealer out, you want to blend it upwards. And there's enough there on your inner corner to cover up underneath your lower lash line. And if you get a little bit on your lid, totally fine. So step number 4 is our setting powder. So you want to go in with a translucent powder. This is going to help build up more of a fine, seamless look than if you go in with a powder that has a color to it. Sometimes you can get a little heavy-handed and it can look a little bit cakey. So I'm going to be using the Laura Mercier powder. This is in the color Translucent. Now you have to be careful. If you have dry skin, you want to use as small amount as powder as possible because the powder can settle into your fine lines and make your foundation look a little bit cakey. You can use a brush or a sponge, it's up to you. So I'm just going to take that damp sponge, the same one that I was using, and then I'm just going to go in with a very, very small amount, just about that much. And I'm going to set the concealer underneath my eyes. Very small. And I'm going to go in on the other side. If your skin is dry, you don't have to set the rest of your face. But if you have a little bit of more oily skin, you can set the rest of your face. Just remember to be very light-handed with the powder. You can also go in with the pressed powder, especially if you have really dry skin, and that's gonna help it from looking too cakey. So I'm just still dipping that in there, and I'm just gonna go ahead and set in my T-zone because I know this is where I get the most oily, but I'm still staying very light-handed. And if you want to, I like to carry a compact with me throughout the day, so when I'm at work or out in town or whatever, if I get a little oily in that area, I can just go in and touch it up. So that's always a good tip to kind of help keep your makeup fresh. Now that we've got our foundation down, we're gonna go on to step number 5. Step number 5 is bronzer. You always wanna make sure that you use bronzer because it's gonna bring warmth to your face. And you wanna choose a bronzer that's 1 to 2 colors lighter than your foundation. So today I'm gonna go in with the Marc Jacobs. This is in the color Tantastic. And we're gonna go around the perimeters of the face and warm the face up. And I think this is a really important step because I noticed especially a lot of older women don't use enough bronzer to bring life to your face. And see how flat my face is? There's no dimension, there's no color because we've blocked everything out with that foundation. So you wanna go in and warm the face up. So I'm just taking a big fluffy brush, just doing a little circles. And I'm gonna start right here on the cheeks. And we're just gonna go in circular motions and give some warmth to that face. And you want to make sure that you bring it down the neck so you can make everything seamless and smooth. You don't want to have that line of demarcation. So you want to make sure you bring it down. And you can also put it across your nose. I like to do that because I know that the sun also hits your nose as well. It just doesn't hit this part of the face. When you go out in the sun and you get a little suntan, your nose is going to have some sun on it. So we're going to put a little bit on our nose. So I've had a lot of people ask me, how do I find my perfect bronzer shade? The bronzer shade, you make sure it's 1 to 2 shades lighter than your foundation. You also want to find out your undertone. So you can have a cool undertone, a warm undertone, or a neutral undertone. So a little trick that I've learned to do is once you can find the color of your veins, if your veins pull more blue, you're on the cool side. If they pull more green, you're on the warm side. And if you can't really tell which ones they pull, you're probably more in the neutral side. So that's going to help you kind of pick what bronzer that you want to put to match the foundation on your face. So I'm going to go ahead and finish the rest of my makeup off camera and we'll be back. So this is the finished look that I came up with today. If you like these types of videos where we have the steps that are easy to follow, let me know down in the comments and I can definitely get up more videos like that for you. And if you don't mind, you can subscribe to my YouTube channel. You can also hit the like button and the notification button. That way that you are notified every time I upload a video. So thanks guys for watching and I'll see you next time. Bye.